Hello everybody, Canadian Prepper here. Wanted to do a quick video today regarding the topic of what I can only call the pestilence, for lack of a better word. You could probably call it insect infestation or something of that nature. But just want to talk a bit about what I foresee happening in the absence of all the control measures that are currently utilized to control the populations of insects and pests, rodents, stuff like that. So right now, as most people know, a lot of those issues are contained using various pesticides and insecticides, herbicides to contain, undesirable pests, creepy crawlers. And we're pretty much dependent upon these now to a point where, a lot of the big name companies in agriculture pretty much have dominion over a large part of the agricultural market because they're the ones who produce the resistant strains of food. Now, in some ways, some people might say, well, horticulture is going to be largely organic process. But what we've done, unfortunately, is right now, nature is kind of like under a pressure cooker. And what I mean by that is that a lot of these insecticides and pesticides that we've been spraying have been breeding insects who are resistant and pests who are resistant to these herbicides and pesticides. And such is the nature of evolution, natural selection. If there's insects that can survive, if they have a gene, their genes will be carried forth and so on. And thus we have a lot of issues right now with superbugs and in the absence of any controls, I can only imagine what sort of havoc a lot of those little creatures are going to wreak on everything. Now, you could say that, well, the more insects there are, the more birds there are going to be, and the birds will multiply and eat all the insects, but I have a feeling that's going to take a long time before it sort of balances out in that respect. And I do worry that this issue of, grid down pest management is going to be a huge issue. It's going to be a huge health issue. It's going to be a huge horticultural issue because, if there is some sort of pestilence due to the lack of control measures, then that's going to impact a person's ability to be self-sufficient, and if their crops are being eaten up by, caterpillars and grasshoppers, and that's only one dimension of it. You have the other dimension, which is the hygienic aspect, which, if we're talking about bed bugs and fleas and things of that nature, which are going to be a force to be reckoned with also. And that's already becoming problematic with the grid up, in the presence of exterminators and all these chemicals that we use to try to contain these things. It's still a problem, so I can only imagine it exploding when people don't have the proper ways of cleaning themselves, especially in the big cities where it's going to be very congested living. There's going to be a lot of rodents, a lot of pests of those kind of sorts. There's going to be more flora, more weeds, because of the lack of herbicides being used, lack of maintenance to those areas, landscaping. And thus that's going to create a larger environment for the insects. So it's just going to, be a self-perpetuating thing. You're going to have ants and aphids and wasps and hornets, spider mites, cockroaches, all sorts of things are just going to blow. And that's not even including the mosquitoes, which in many cities they do spray for. especially in the Canadian cities, they do spray, and you know, mosquitoes, black flies, horse flies, all those annoying things, ticks. That's just, to name a few, really. And all these things can be vectors for disease also. So I really think that this is going to be a huge issue, and I'm curious as to how people are going to manage it. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, there's going to be a lot of traditional approaches, I'm sure, to managing these issues, but the problem is we've raised the bar so high that the only insects that can exist now are ones that are really hardened to all the chemicals we've been spraying. So imagine in the absence of those chemicals how their potential for reproduction and just booming in population and stuff like that. So tell me what you think about this issue. I think it's going to be a hot topic when the grid goes down. And I'm not just talking about the insects, like I say, I'm talking about all the little critters, all the so-called pests, what we call pests, the rats and the, stuff like that. So let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Canadian Prepper out.